rice almost exactly. Oh! Tim, you good?
Hey, that's a clip. I got the clip. I got it. Oh my.
You're aware of like the lingo, you know about the environments, like you know what it takes for a skater to do a certain thing, so you have respect for what they're doing, and it just like that kind of goes a long way. But also on the other hand, if you're not a skater yourself and you've never, you know, little to nothing about, you know, the sport, then you're also at an advantage because you don't have any ideas of what skate photography should be. Like you're an open slate, like you can do whatever. Like you're gonna shoot something and see something happening and you're gonna try to capture it in a way that another skate photographer wouldn't, because you don't have like, this is what it should be, this is what it's supposed to be like, this is when you're supposed to shoot the photo. That doesn't exist for you. So there's advantages to both. But yeah, it definitely helps to know about skateboarding, to shoot skateboarding photography. These are like the first photos I ever had at Red and Thrasher. Really old magazine, you see it's all messed up. I honestly hate these photos now. They're really bad, in my opinion, you know. I'm really thankful that they got in there, but yeah, it's just my friend Jerry, and this is like some big ditch. You get the next one too, you'll be able to see, more of I get a better idea of what's going on here. So we hiked into some ditch, climbed up this ladder, and this thing was filled with bird poop and bird carcasses. It was really not that sick. But yeah, I shot these photos and I didn't think anything of them at the time. It was just photos that I shot just like any other day. And they ended up being used in Thrasher. This was my first article that I shot and wrote. So I was really hyped on that. Really cool thing to happen for me at the time. But yeah, I mean, looking at them now, I'm just like, I really wish I shot them better, but what else? And then next one. So what makes a good skate photo? This is like the most boring slide that I have. So the things that are important or whatever, like the things that you're trying to do when you're taking skate photos is you want good composition. So rule of thirds, all the regular things about photography that you've ever learned, like you want to employ those things. Like you want to compose a photo in an interesting way, and so that's number one thing, just looking at the scene and being like, oh, how can I show this and make it cool? And then timing, like you want to shoot a skate photo at the peak of the action. And so that differs for every single thing. Like if someone's skating a rail, you want to shoot it as soon as they touch the rail, as soon as they get into it, or when they're at the top of the rail. If they're shooting, like if you're doing an air in a bowl, like you want to shoot it when they're at the peak, at the highest they're going to get to. Yeah, what else? Ledge, like as soon as they're getting into a trick on a ledge, like that's probably when you want to shoot it. And then another thing that you want to try to achieve in a skate photo is telling a story. So you want people to be able to know what's going on, like what's happening. They started from here, they jumped, they popped and went over this obstacle and they landed here. Like you want to be able to convey what is going on with, the photo. You want to show the skater's face. You definitely don't want to shoot their butt. Like, for the most part, like you want to show a skater's face in nearly every photo. Like you want to know who the person is. You don't want to just leave that to mystery. Sharp focus, kind of important in almost all kinds of photography. So you want usually the skater to be in focus. And then good lighting. You want, whether using flash or natural light, you want to achieve just a clear image. You want to be able to see what the scene is. You want to be able to see what the obstacle is, who the skater is, all that stuff. So all that being said, then those are the rules or the things that you want to achieve and look for in a photo. Not following and not doing all those things also can achieve a really good photo. If you compose it in a weird way that no one's ever seen and you disregard the rule of thirds, you might take a really cool photo that no one's ever seen before. Timing, like I said, maybe you shoot something at the top of like someone's grinding a big rail. You want to shoot it at the top of the rail, but sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes that looks lame. Sometimes it's too far away. So all of these things that I mentioned, they can be broken and you might be able to achieve something great. You know, sometimes you shoot a fisheye photo and you're so close to them that you don't know what the obstacle is. And you don't know where they're coming from, where they're going. But, you know, there's just really cool something going on like that. You're that close and it's just, you know, it might make you happy and that's awesome. Maybe that's all you're looking for. Sometimes you don't see a skater's face at all. And that's a cool thing. Sometimes you do shoot just their butt side or their back side, you know, and you don't see everything and that's super fine. Sharp focus, maybe it's blurry. Maybe you use employed like motion blur in a photo, or you know you're focused on something in the foreground and you can see the skater in the background and they're not in focus, and that might be a great skate photo. You never know. And then good lighting, maybe you just fucking lit something super bad, but the thing ends up looking, the final product ends up looking great. So all these things are things that I tend to follow or like keep in mind when shooting. But also, like I said, just if you break the rules, your mind makes a really cool photo. You never know. This is a photo I shot of my friend Tori, and I had a bunch of flashes set up, and I was like, I'm gonna fucking make this so sick. And then the photo that ended up being the most hyped on is the one where I only used the flash that was behind the Tesla. So there's some rim lighting on him. You can see like the fucking outline right here. Like that's because there's only a flash behind him. And so, you know, I disregarded all the other flashes I had set up and just used that one in the back, and it kind of ended up being the photo that I liked the most. And as you can see, whatever, the lighting, like I said, peak of action, like he's sliding this back tail, but he's about to pop out. And that's, you know, where I thought was like, oh, the coolest point to shoot this photo. And obviously you can kind of see I follow the rule of thirds. He's up there in the top left part of the frame. This is my friend Leo, same Tesla, different location, different time of the day. So he's just doing a 5.0, and I was like, this could be cool fisheye. So I got super close, was able to show the whole truck, able to get him in the sky, and he's kind of at the peak of action. He's like at the top of the truck, you know, where it starts to go down. So I didn't want to have him like too far over here because he wanted in the sky, and I felt like it was more interesting separating him from everything. And then I didn't want him all the way down here because I was like, oh, that's kind of not as exciting, you know? Like right there, I feel like that's pretty exciting. So I had the same kind of thing. I had a flash on the truck in the back. I had a flash over here, kind of shooting, aiming this way, and that's why you see the shadow right here. And then I had another one just out of frame right here, pointing at him. It was set up pretty tall, so he's lit from that one. This is another photo of my friend Tori. Same trick, different location. The people that I was shooting this for, they're like, we need a vertical photo. And in my head, I was like, you guys are fucking dumb. You don't know what you're talking about. That's not how you shoot this photo or this trick. You know, the obstacle's long, it's a car. So in my head, it's like, you need to shoot it horizontal to show the whole thing, to show the length and blah, blah. But they wanted this, so I was like, all right, whatever. I'll fucking entertain you guys. And so, similar lighting situation, one over there, one over here, one behind him. I think that might have been it. And, you know, as soon as he started trying it, I was like, oh, sick. Like, you get to see him in the reflection a little bit. It's nice, but, I mean, realistically, that first photo that I showed you, like the long lens one, I think that's stronger. I think the fisheye one of my friend Leo doing the 5.0 is stronger than this. This was just, you know, cool and situational, and I shot it for them. But I don't think it really achieves what I wanted to achieve in the photo, just because it's like, they put restrictions on me, and I was like, you guys are dumb, you don't know what you're talking about. But I did it, and it came out cool enough.
Are you ever concerned with like the shadows created by like at different angles in the way that like it might feel unnatural? Like, why is there two suns, or what's going on? For people that don't know,
Yeah.
like why is this shadow going this way but the car is over here?
Yeah, that's honestly, I mean, I don't necessarily. That's a great question. I've never really thought about it too much. It does pop up when it's just like, oh, this lighting is just bad. Like, I'll have something set up initially, and I'm just like, this looks dumb. Like, this isn't lighting the scene the way I want to. But I never think about like, oh, you know, trying to achieve like, I'm like that first one. Can you go back again to the first one? Like this one actually, like, you know, I had all these lights, and I was like, this kind of looks whack, and like. The fact that I just used the one light and used natural light for everything else, like it kind of achieved what you're talking about, like not trying to fucking overdo it or like make it too much of like a movie scene or whatever. It's just like, it's natural. if you go back to that, my bad, the next one, yeah, this one, and honestly, like, I tried to avoid stuff like this. You see how his shadow's back there? Like, I mean, in a perfect world, that wouldn't be there, but it's, you know, a product of having that flash so high up and shooting at him. So, like, that kind of stuff bugs the hell out of me. Like, if I could avoid doing that in all of my photos, I would, but it's not really possible every single time. And sometimes the silhouette or the shadow of them, like, it ends up looking cool. Like, it's like, oh, like, look at this extra little bonus thing that you get in the photo. It's like expressive, it shows them and the skater, like what they're doing. But yeah, it's not something that I think about often, but I think it becomes a problem when it looks, just looks bad, you know? Not that it looks like unnatural or whatever, because I mean, all of this shit isn't fucking normal. Like, you don't see something like this very often, so if it's lit a little funny or looks like fucking unreal, like, I kind of think that's sick. Like, I want it to be like, holy shit, like, what the fuck is going on, you know?
It's also sick.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna talk about how, like, the process of even getting a photo, or shooting a skate photo. So this right here, my friends were doing this trick, and I was like, okay, like, I need to shoot this. So I walked up, and I had my fisheye on, because I knew that it needed to be shot fisheye, and I shot a sequence of it. So I shot, like, from the point they were rolling up until they were rolling away. And I shot it horizontally, and I was just holding the trigger, and I was like, okay, after, you know, they did it once, I was able to see and look through the frames and be like, okay, like, this frame right here, this is the frame that I want to capture. And shooting it like this, it helped me realize a few things. First off, that I don't want to shoot the photo horizontally. I think it's not perfect or ideal for this. I needed to shoot it vertically. And the first thing I did was like, okay, another thing I realized is that I need to be a little bit closer, because I'm too far away where I don't see his board and I don't see his hand down on the ground. And that's lame. Like, I want to show, like, you know, that. And obviously, like I said, I need to shoot it vertical so I can get his board and him fully in the frame. And like I said, just use the ability that I could shoot a sequence to figure out what the moment is. And this was the moment that I want to capture. And then I set up my flashes, and then if you hit the next one, this was the first photo I shot. And I was like, this is pretty close to what I want. You see his hand, you see his board, but obviously his foot's not in there. And so I was just like, okay, keep shooting. So the next one I shot, a little bit closer to what I want. He's fully in there. His leg is straight. That leg's straight. That looks cool. But again, like, I can't see his board. I can't see his hand. So I'm like, okay, I gotta shoot again. So the next one, and I was like, okay, this is a little bit closer. Hand, board. Him, his leg is fully straight, and that's cool, but I can't see his face. And so I hated that, and I was like, okay, keep shooting. So I got the next one. And this one I was like, okay, this is pretty close to what I imagined. His leg is straight, he's fully in there, board, hand. But, you know, naturally just like, they're still doing it, so I'm like, I'm gonna keep shooting it, hopefully get something closer to what I imagined in my head. And then the next one, and then this one I'm pretty hyped on. I'm like, okay, this is sick, this might be it. Hands fully in there, board's fully in there. He's stretched out, like, he's like very expressive in the fact that he's like power sliding, and you can see that. He's fully in the frame as well. Legs are pretty straight, you can see his face. So there's nothing too bad about this photo, or nothing that I'm too bummed on. But naturally they're still trying. I'm just like, okay, let's see if I can achieve something better. And then the next one, and this one's pretty cool as well. And it's pretty cool, similar to the last one. I'm more in front of him, so I get more over here, so I lose a little bit of the bottom skater, but I still have all the elements that I'm looking for. You know, he's stretched out, I see his board, I see his hand down, his face, he looks all angry. This guy's up in the air, I can see his board, I can see his face, I can see his legs. So I'm like, all right, this is great, this might be it. I'm like, okay, naturally they're still trying, I'm gonna shoot one more. The next one I shoot is this one, and I look at it, I'm just like, okay, this is dumb. Like, this is fucking bad. Like, his leg is straight, this leg isn't straight though, and I don't like that. I don't like that he's so crunched up, he's a little too compact. I liked when he was stretched out, it was just like more expressive of the trick that he was doing. And so I shot this one and I was like, okay, like, the other ones are better. This is just a bad version of the other ones. So I was like, I think I did it. So I stopped shooting. And then the next slide shows the 2 photos that I liked and them fully edited. And so, you know, right now to this day, I couldn't tell you which one I necessarily like more. I think they're both very similar. This one, on the one on the right, Grayson, the guy on the top flying through the sky, he looks way cooler. But on this one, the guy on the bottom looks cooler. So I was definitely a little torn, but I was like, whatever, I got 2 photos that I'm pretty hyped on. So I just, you know, that's the kind of the process that I went through to shoot this photo. I go through a very similar process to shoot other photos. And yeah, like I said, these are them fully edited. It's a little brighter, the colors pop a little bit more than the raw photos that I shared on the other slides. This is a photo I shot of my friend CJ, and you know, we got to the spot. I'm just looking at it like, okay, how do I shoot this? And this is what I landed on, and I'm actually really hyped on this. So leading lines, big, cool thing that a tool that you can utilize when shooting photos and skate photos specifically. So this is the spot. He ollied up, wall ride, ollie out. And so I wanted to show the whole spot to the best of my ability. So I wanted to show the bank, obviously, and then I wanted to show this curve too. It's like, you know, about a foot high, and I wanted to show that he was on the wall and had to pop over that. So I got as close as I could to the curve so I can show the gap between the wall and it, and then this, you know, leading line leads you right to him, like that line is right where he's at. This line kind of leads up to him as well. The horizon up there is pretty level with him as well. So all the stuff is like pointing to him, and he's brightly lit. I set up my flashes for this one. I had one like over here pointing at him. I had one back here pointing at him as well. And then the third one I had was back on the backside of this bank where he was popping from, and it was pointing up. And that's why you see this light right here, and you can see this right here, that these spider webs are lit up from that flash back there. And also it's pointing up at him, so you can see like on his legs that I don't know, it's like, you know, you just see that white, and it's just like it kind of outlines him and his board a little bit. And I like to do that when I can. It just helps, you know, the skater pop in the scene a little bit more. And yeah, just the peak of the action, you know. I could have shot it when he was getting on the wall and all 4 wheels were on the wall, but I didn't think that was as exciting as this would be. So him coming off the wall is definitely a little trickier to shoot, but I think that this is better and more, you know, accurate as to what the trick was, and it's just exciting to me, at least. Anybody have any questions about this?
Did you use a fisheye, or was it just like a wider lens?
No, this was, I think it was, I have a 24-70. I don't know what I was zoomed in or out at, but, you know, like I said, that's the lens I use. I didn't, fisheye, I thought about shooting a fisheye, and I would have been all up in the mix. I would have been right here in the danger zone, really close to him. I would have been in the filmer's way, which they hate. So I just, like I said, followed the curve down and wanted to show just that gap in between. And I think, just show the whole spot. But yeah, so that's that.
So then, like, you have to think about, like, so I want to get in the filmer's way if you want to use a fisheye. So that's something to be mindful about?
It's something to super be mindful about. At this point, it's a very collaborative process. Like, you know, you get to a spot and someone's like, oh, I'm going to try this. You know, you talk to the filmer. As a photographer, I talk to the filmer like, oh, what do you want to do? What are you going to do? Like, and then, okay, like, I'm going to go fisheye. Oh, I'll go fisheye too. Like, sometimes one of you is in the other's way. Sometimes it's like very cohesive and nobody's in anyone's way. And we're hyped, that's great. But I honestly tend to get in the filmer's way a lot, and people hate it. I always get called out for it, but personally, it's just like I know that the best way for me to shoot this photo is this, so I have to do that, and I have to get that part out of my head and be like, okay, like I shot it, you guys can do your thing and not your way, whatever. But yeah, it's definitely, you're supposed to collaborate with each other and work with each other. Sometimes you don't, sometimes one of you thinks what you're doing is more important than the other.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, you feel it out. Every situation is different. But yeah, I definitely chose to not get in anybody's way for this one.
I got a question.
Sure.
Do you ever edit the filmer out?
Yeah.
If the filmer's shooting fisheye, will you shoot another still to edit the filmer out of the shot?
Yeah, there's probably a photo in here where I had to do exactly that. I couldn't say off the top of my head, but yeah, it's something that I frequently have to do. So there's different ways to achieve that. All of them are done in Photoshop for the most part. You know, you shoot the photo, the skate photo, how you want it, and you know, say the filmer's in there, you see his camera and his arm, and then his head is peeking out at the top of the frame as well. So it's like after they try the trick and the filmer, you say, hey, can you take a step back so I can shoot a plate? And you shoot another photo of the same scene as you would want it, and then in Photoshop you just put them together. You take the parts from the photo with no filmer and you use that. Or sometimes it's just a little bit in there and you can clone it out. It's just, there's different ways to go about it. But yeah, it's definitely something that, you know, you have to practice and you like figure out how to do because it happens so often. This one is my friend, Mommy. She's doing a trick. I was doing natural light, but I was like, oh, this is like not that sick, like whatever. So I put a flash all the way in the back, and I go back and forth between hating that my friend is there or not minding it. In this moment, I don't mind it. And yeah, I just use the one flash all the way back there, and she's just doing an air out of the full pipe into the small transition there. And yeah, I just wanted to show the whole spot. It's a very symmetrical spot, so I was like, oh, I should try to show symmetrical, shoot it where that's in the middle. And I think that's kind of in the middle. Can't really tell from this angle, but that's what I had in mind, so that's what I tried to achieve. Yeah, just like I said, peak of action. She's airing, she's out of the transition. None of her wheels are touching. She's at the highest point that she got while doing the air. Yeah, I think that pretty straightforward, nothing too crazy. And then this is a natural light one. This is no flashes at all. My friend was just doing this trick, and I was like, how do I shoot this? And I was looking at it from this way, the way that he was skating it, looking at the opposite side that you can't see of the bank. And I was like, that looks kind of dumb. Can't see his face. All I'm seeing is his butt. And then I was like, oh, I can go to the other side. And I went to the other side, and I saw him do one. I was like, oh, this is it. This is perfect. And he's like hugging that text over there, like his body doesn't cover it, and you can see it perfectly. Not that it's important, but I just like that it's not neither of them are obstructing each other. And he's like in that arch, peak of action. He's about to pop back into the bank, which looks cool. Like you can see the bottom of his board. You can see his face, his arms are like expressive, and I just really enjoy that. And all the other stuff too, it's like all these straight lines, like I just thought all this stuff worked really well from this angle, and I was really pleased with this photo. Like I said, all natural light, no flashes. Looking back on it now, it would have been sick maybe to have a flash over here, would have been in a very dangerous place, but shooting up so he would have been lit from the back, and that would have been maybe cool, but you know, this is what I walked away with, and I'm not mad about it. This is another natural light photo, and this is one that, I mean, realistically, I would have been so hyped to set up flashes somewhere, but I don't think that there was any place for me to do that, and I tried when I first got there, and I tried to put one over here next to these trees, but it just looked bad. It was just lighting up that structure, that building. It wasn't lighting up the skaters, so I was like, okay, this is not going to work. So I took everything down, natural light, and you know, I was really happy with this photo. It's like a crazy scene. You're just like, what the hell is this? And then you see him, you're like, oh shit, like he's in the sky, which I'm super hyped on. All of those power lines kind of are obstructing in a sense, but I think they kind of work. It's not anything too crazy. And it kind of, you know, all those like shapes that are made by it, like this triangle here, like this triangle here, all these different weird triangles, like, okay, like your attention is drawn to it. And I think it works. I think I did the best job that I could, and I'm pretty hyped on it. Yeah, like I said, peak of action too, he's totally separate, like in the sky, the peak of his pop, you can see his face. I think it follows all those rules. Like I said, I'm not very good oftentimes at not listening to those rules that I gave you guys at the beginning. I usually follow them, but there are other photographers that are really good at disregarding them. I did use flashes on this one. I had two flashes. I had one set up over here, and then one set up over here, and they're both facing the skater. And I saw him doing this trick, and I was like, oh, like the sun's coming over just right now, just like hitting him all nice from the back. And I was like, I want to shoot this photo. I was sitting fisheye for a long time, just everybody's trying tricks, and I was just shooting fisheye. I was like, all right, I'm over this. Like, I need to show the entire scene. And I took a step back and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And I knew that he was doing this trick, and I was like, I want to shoot this and frame him inside the pool. And so I took a step back, climbed this wall that was back there, and shot, kind of down at the whole scene. And it works. I'm hyped on it. Like, he's well lit. You can see his face. You can see what he's doing. You understand what's going on. The light kind of comes down right at him, which is cool. And the moment I was just like, I wish these sun flares weren't here, but I'm pretty pleased with them now looking back on it. And yeah, I mean, one thing that I wish I could do differently is remove all those people in the background, but that's whatever. They're there, and it's part of the day, and that's how it all went down. Any questions about that or any of the other ones? Yeah.
First of all, I like that the people are there. But I was wondering about like the standard of, is a photo considered not as good if they didn't land it, or are you happy to use a photo if it's the best one from the shoot, but they completely bailed right after?
It's well, you bring up a very good point. One of the things is, so say he ended up doing this trick, but I shot it, 10 times before he actually landed it. And this isn't the make, but this is the best depiction of the trick. This is like, it's a moment that did happen, so it's real. It's not like it's like not actual thing. So, as a photographer, as long as, in my opinion, as long as if you're shooting something, if you're shooting a trick, and, as long as they land it, then whatever, like use the best one from that day of them land, whether or not it was the make or not. Like I said, I don't recall if this was the make or not, but this one is the one that I was most pleased with. And then, if a skater just completely doesn't land something and you shoot it, and then it's like within like the rules of skateboarding and skateboard photography, it's like you're not supposed to, it's poor taste to fucking be like, oh, like here's this photo. It's like, unless it's like years later, this is all, my opinion, but unless it's like years later and you're like, oh, look at this cool thing that almost happened, and people are like, whoa, that is so cool. But you couldn't, like, say he didn't land this, and I gave it to the, editor at Thrasher, and they put it in there. That'd be like, skater might be bummed. If the editor found out, he would be bummed, and then I'd have to fucking live with that, so.
And then they asked to see the clip.
Yeah, exactly. People are expected to see that kind of stuff, and then they never see it, and they're like, what the hell? So, all right, next one. This is my friend Forrest. This is shot right here in downtown at night in front of the Cheech. And yeah, it's just, pretty straightforward, basic fisheye skate photo of a rail. I had 3 flashes, I think. I think there was one up here at the top of the stairs, like on the side that I'm on, shooting down at him. That's why you see this shot over here. And then there was another one over here, like kind of behind me, shooting at him, and that's why you see that shadow back there on the building of him. And then the third flash I had was set up right behind this pole and shooting at him. And that's why this is all lit up like kind of, really well. And then you also see the rim lighting on his pants a little bit, and then on his arm as well. And sometimes as a skater in skate photography, you have to go places at night because you can't go there during the day. If we went there during the day, they would be fucking pissed. This is the photo I shot pretty recently, and you asked about like getting in filmer's way. Today, on this day, I was in every filmer's way. There was like 4 filmers here, and none of them wanted to go fisheye with me, and I was like, you guys are dumb. Like, this is how this trick and spot needs to be shot. There's this big tree right here, and in everybody else's angles, like it's in the way. And I'm just like, I'm not fucking dealing with that. Like, that's dumb. So I chose to go fisheye, and I shot it horizontally because I was like, okay, this is how I show and make the spot as big as I can. And so, shot it fisheye, had a few flashes set up, and I really liked that this curve was curving, and it led right into the corner. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna fucking roll with that, use that to my advantage. And then also same thing with that tree. I like that it bent up, and I was like, oh, this will be the edge of the frame as well. And I would have loved to get him in the sky, but to do that, I would have had to be really low. It would have made the spot not look as big. So I was kind of on my knees, like trying to stand up straight without getting in everybody's way, which I didn't really achieve. I'm super in the way in the clips and whatever. Like, I just knew in my heart of hearts that this was the best way to shoot this photo. So I shot a fisheye, flash over here, another flash further down, like at the pop, and then another one like behind me shooting, facing him. So I shot this one horizontal, and then if you go to the next slide, this is a vertical option that I also shot. Kind of shrinks the spot, but if you know skating and if you know the spot, then you know how big it is, whatever. But same thing, I use this curve, and you know, it kind of lines the frame, which is I thought was really cool as well. And then the same thing with the tree. It just, you know, kind of hugs him and kind of takes away that blank space in the sky, which, whatever, is good and bad, I don't really know. But it just kind of, you know, hugs him, which I thought was sick in the moment. And so, you know, sometimes you get to shoot both horizontal and vertical, or you get to play with it a little bit. So I was hyped to be able to play with this one. And then this is the same spot, same day, different skater, different trick. And so this is, you know, sometimes a single frame photo will not convey what is going on in a skate photo. So this one, I had to shoot a sequence. And in a perfect world, I would have had my camera set up on a tripod, and it would have been fine, and no one would have been yelling at me or to get out of the way, but that wasn't the case on this day. I was in everybody's way, like I said, and I was just like, I just fucking tune you guys out, whatever, I got it. This is how it needs to be done. And so I did. So I couldn't use a tripod because I was shooting two different skaters at the same time. So I had to just, when he was going, just hold still and just hold the trigger down. And yeah, so I shot the sequence, and I shot it because I knew, in a way that I knew that this was going to be the final like product. And so he was traveling through the entire frame, which was perfect. That was great. That was great. And then most of the work to make this happen, obviously, is done in Photoshop. So I try to stay as still as I can, but no matter what, like, there's no way I was going to stay still for this long. And so in Photoshop, what I did is choose a frame, whatever. I think it was this frame that I started with. So this is the photo that I used. Those three on that side and those three on this side weren't there. And so I went to the other photos and, you know, selected the area where the skater was, copy them, paste them onto this frame, and then, you know, try to get it lined up as perfectly as possible, like, you know, where all this other stuff doesn't overlap with the frame. So I had to erase and whatever. Usually I have to erase everything and just get the skater, which takes a little bit of time, but, you know, when it ends up looking like this and you get what and I got what I wanted, I was like so hyped. I was like, this is perfect. Like, this is, all those guys are done. Like, this is exactly how it needed to be shot. Like, if I shot this long lens, like, it wouldn't have been as exciting. Like, I'm right there in the mix. Like, you can see how long the spot really is, and I really liked that. Same concept as the last photo. Yeah, just skater traveling through the frame. I saw him start to try this trick, and I was just like, in the moment I kind of made the decision that there wasn't really a way that I was going to be able to shoot this trick and show the spot to its to the best of my ability with a single frame. So I had to shoot a sequence, and I went straight on the side, shooting at him, so I could see the length of the spot, I could see the bump that he's coming off of, and I could see the curve that he's going over. In my head now, like looking back, it's like, okay, maybe I could have shot a single frame photo, but I don't think that it would have been that great. I would have, if I were to shoot a single frame photo of this, I would have been a little more to my left, shooting at the skater a little more of an angle. I would have tried to get him specifically in this, but I remember that the more I moved to the left, the less I saw of this bump. So I was just like, that kind of just takes away from it. You don't really understand what's going on, so I figured that in that moment I made this decision that this was the best way to shoot it, and I'm pretty pleased with it. It's nothing too crazy. Same thing, like I said, this one I was able to sit down on the ground, put my camera on a tripod, and just hold the trigger. So it's a little easier to achieve, and then having it on the tripod makes the Photoshop aspect of it a little bit easier, because you could just, in theory, select him, cut, and then go to the frame that you're working on and paste in place. And then, in theory, he'll end up right there, or close enough to where you can just adjust him a little bit and whatever. So there's a lot that goes into that, but you know, this is the final product of shooting photos. Same kind of concept as the other photos, but this one I used flash, my flashes. So I had one flash set up behind him, like over here shooting this way. I had one set up over here near this wall shooting this way, and then I had one over here behind me shooting up at him. And yeah, it's the same concept. I just knew that he was the trick that he was doing, it couldn't be shown in a single frame. And so I knew that I had to show him on both parts of this obstacle. So him doing the blunt on the banked wall and then popping onto the board slide on the rail. And so, yeah, I shot the first one, just stay completely still, shoot it, and then wait for him to get one that I like, and then he finally got into the blunt in a way that I was like, okay, this portrays the trick the best that I can right now, and then stay right there, wait for him to get on a board slide that I like, shoot at, and then get out of the way. And then all the work's done in Photoshop to put those two together. And the same thing, in a perfect world, you stay still, you have it on a tripod, and all you have to do is select the skater, paste in place, and then erase all the nonsense around it. And then this next one is another thing, like the same, similar style. I had to lay on the ground, set up my flashes. He started doing this trick, and I was just like, I have to shoot it this way. And initially, I just had him on this rail, and then on this rail. I didn't have this middle frame of him. And I was looking at it, and I was like, I don't know how exciting that is. Like, it could, you could look at it and just be like, oh, he did that, went on the ground, and popped onto that one. So I was like, no, I gotta show it. I gotta show him in the air, like popping from rail to rail. And so, same thing, got that frame that I was hyped on, waited for him to get an ollie that was like expressive, and he looked like he was coming through the air, and actually something was happening. So I got that one, and then I got him on the rail, on this rail. And when I got him on this rail, he was like over here, and all these different places, and I was like, that's dumb. And then I finally got him, the one he did, he was, rode it to the end. And so I got him in the sky, separated from all this stuff. There was no tree going up his butt, or he wasn't at the end with the sign like behind his head. And I was like, okay, this is exactly what I wanted. And then, like I said, all this work to really make this is done in Photoshop. And I did that, and I was hyped, and, I think it was a cool photo. Any questions about that stuff, about shooting a sequence and anything like that?
What's like the rate of burst? I usually shoot film, so I'm not sure with like digital cameras how fast they shoot.
They go pretty fast. I think the camera that I use is like at least 10 frames per second.
10 frames.
Yeah, and but this obviously, like I said, so like these last two photos, like this one I'm using flashes, so it's not shooting 10. Like my flashes don't refresh that fast,
yeah.
So I have to each. It's a tricky thing. So him doing this trick, I was like, please don't do it first try. Because if he did it first try, then I'm only going to get one of these frames that I wanted. So the fact that he tried it, 10, 15, 20 times, whatever, is like, it gave me the chance to shoot this and be like, okay, like that one I'm hyped on. Now I can focus on him in the air doing the ollie. And then I finally got that frame after a couple tries. And then I finally got that frame on the one that he landed. And so it takes a second to get it. And then, yeah, like I said, it's when you're using the flashes, it's not, you're not shooting at 10 frames per second. You're shooting one frame each try, and you're like, please don't land it. This is my friend Mommy. I really like this photo. I think I had two flashes. I had one set up over here next to this tree pointing at her, and then I had one over here on this side of the pool, beyond these dolphins out of the frame pointing at her as well in the deep end. And when I saw her trying this, I was like, oh, cool, skate photo. You go fisheye, default to fisheye. And I was like, that's boring. I went over there and looked at it. I was like, that doesn't work. And so I was like, I need to shoot it long. How do I do this? And I was like, looking around, and I was like, I'll just sit at the bottom of the pool. When I sat at the bottom of the pool, I realized where she was doing it. And I was like, oh, like it kind of lines up perfectly in the fact that, she's getting into the trick after, this line of the house right here. And so I was like, oh shit, like I can maybe get her perfectly in that square. And I was able to, and it's like, the square is this coping, that line, the shadow, and then the fence. And I was like, oh shit, I got exactly what I wanted. And she looks very like she's in the trick, she's doing it. Like her arms are like, wow, like, I don't know, like fucking she's angry or something. And I like this canopy shadow that was right here, and then this one, it's like, it just all kind of worked compositionally, and I was really hyped on this photo. Yeah, just two flashes, and sometimes your brain like tells you, oh, this is how you shoot it, and then you have to work against that and be like, like I can get something better than the standard skate photo, and I was hyped on this one. These photos right here, I think these aren't skate photos obviously, but it's something that I think is really important for any photographer. It's to just fucking shoot everything. Like, I spent so many years of my photography fucking journey not shooting everything. I would shoot a skate photo and then I put my camera away and then just go back to whatever, just living or enjoying whatever's going on. So if you skip through it, like, it's like these photos like help me so much. Like, next one, Andrew. Like, it just helps with your composition. It's good, just good to practice and shoot other things. So, and any style of photography or any like genre of photography, I guess, it's good to venture out and just shoot other stuff. Like, these photos all are like, in my head, like, just cool and different. Not many people have seen them because it's not skating and that's not the kind of stuff that I put out there, but I'm just hyped on these photos in general. Like the next one as well. It's like this photo is just, we were on a trip, and this is my friend's wife, and it was just funny that she was here and all of my friends were, you know, behind her, like doing skate stuff, sitting on the board talking about whatever, and he's looking at his camera. He's asking him some dumb question about his camera, and she's just sitting there, and I'm like, oh, like, this is a cool photo, you know, she's just in an environment that she's not usually in. And then I was able to shoot an article about this trip, and we used this photo as her, like, you know, as her blurb. It was just like this picture of her, and then it was like some words from her about, you know, a woman being on a skate trip with a bunch of skaters, you know, and her perspective of what's going on. So me shooting this photo ended up being super worth it. You know, even it wasn't anything at the time. I was just like, oh, this is just a funny picture, you know. And the next one, same thing, just more like me just shooting photos and stuff. It's just like, it's really good to just shoot everything because, you know, like I said, I spent many years just wasting a lot of time not shooting everything or just missing photos that I might have been hyped on because I was just like, oh, it's not skating, it's dumb. So big mistake on my end, so don't make that same mistake. Next one, and another one still, same thing, just shooting where I'm at. And, you know, something that I'm really hyped on, it's just symmetrical, whatever, leading lines, all that good stuff, rule of thirds. And so it's just really good practice to shoot other stuff. And then next one as well. Same thing, just my friend Kevin, just a portrait of him, like, this ended up being used in that same article just because it was just a nice portrait of him and it's just whatever. And I mean, realistically, it's because he was wearing this Thrasher stuff, so they were like, we need fucking subliminal advertising. Next one. Okay, this is a skate photo that I shot that I was like, oh, I'm gonna try and do some motion blur because, you know, I don't always do that. And, you know, I shot this photo and I was like, ah, all right, it's kind of cool. You know, the skater's face is still in focus. You can see the spot, kinda. You don't really know where he's coming from, so I kind of think that I didn't achieve it to the best of my ability. And so, whatever, I was shooting it slow shutter, and I was like, ah, this is kind of cool. And then if you go to the next photo, this is the one that actually got used and that I was more excited about. It's a sharp focus. You can see the entire rail, and you can see that it goes up. He's at the peak, he's coming off of it. You can see his face, you understand what's going on. So I think this one is a little bit stronger, but you know, sometimes it's good to switch it up. And I'm not the best at motion blur, or like I said, I don't always disobey the rules. Oftentimes I'm like, I want a sharp focus, I want peak of action, I want all these things off of that checklist in the beginning. And but sometimes, you know, if you go back to the other one, it's good to just fucking try. Like, you know, sometimes I do achieve really good slow shutter, but most of the time I just stick to what I know and shooting, trying to get a sharp photo. This is another photo shot right here in Riverside at the ditch down the street. And when he started doing this trick, I was like, oh, like, I'm gonna shoot it through this hole in the fence. So I made this hole a little bit bigger so my camera could fit through it. And you can see the hole right there too in this photo. And so I shot this photo because I was like, this is exciting. Like, I'm close to him, you can see what's going on, you get the action. And then I shot it and I was looking at it and I was like, I don't know how well this works. Because you can't see the quarter pipe really, but you see him and that's exciting and that's cool. But I was like, I don't know if this portrays the trick to the best of my, to its full potential. So I went to the bottom and then I shot the same thing. And you can see like these photos together, like it tells the full story. And like that's really cool. And fortunately when this got ran, it was for this board company that he rides for. And it was a 2-page spread and they were able to use both photos. And I was like hyped on that. I was like, this is perfect, like exactly what I wanted to achieve with shooting both of these photos. And so sometimes, you know, you think that your idea is right and it's cool and exciting and different, and it is. But sometimes you need to just go to the default and shoot the traditional skate photo, and you know that's what that is right there. Yeah. All right, any questions? Yeah.
Do you ever let the editors know, like, your preference would have been to use both the photos, or did they just end up like feeling the same vibe?
I think I was, like I said, this one was for the board company that he rides for, so I sent it to the brand manager or whoever, and I was like, here are the photos, and they decided themselves that they were like, oh, both of these work together, we have the amount of space to use them both, so they did. But sometimes it's not so collaborative, sometimes it's like,
Just send them.
send them and they make the decision,
Yeah.
or I like, here, like this is the idea I have, so it's, you know, depends on the situation.
Yeah.
These are 2 photos I shot the same day, the same person doing the same trick. And so at first when he was trying it, I was just like, I fucking just need to play it safe. This is a really gnarly trick. I need to shoot it long. And so I set up all my flashes, you know, there's 4 of them. So there's one up here facing this way. There's one down here facing this way. There's one on these stairs over here facing this way. And then there's one more behind this pillar facing him from behind. And I did all of that because I was just nervous. I was just like, I can't fuck this photo up. This needs to be well lit. It's a really gnarly trick, blah, blah, blah. And so, and then I saw this archway that, you know, he was coming out of, and I was like, this would be so awesome if I can get him in the sky, separated from everything. And I was able to achieve that, and I shot that photo, and I was like, this is a photo, like, this is great. And then he ended up rolling away from this one, and he wasn't pleased with it. And I was like, that's fine by me. So he's like, I'm gonna do another one. And so I was like, okay, now that I have this opportunity to shoot a more interesting photo, you know, I got the safe photo. I got the photo that I was just like, okay, I did it. Like, I didn't completely blow it. And so I had the chance to shoot this fisheye photo, so I was like, oh, like, or to shoot another photo, so I defaulted to fisheye. I was like, I'm gonna make it big. Hopefully it looks exciting. And you know, I kept all my flashes in the same place for the most part. I had to move the one that was over here to a little bit over here. It was like on this dirt hill facing him, and then I had another one down here, whatever. Same setup for the most part. And I shot at fisheye, and this is the photo that ended up getting ran. I think it's just because this one is more exciting. Like I said, it's big, they love fisheye, blah, blah. I don't know which one you prefer, but looking at it now, you know, a couple months after shooting them, I do still prefer this fisheye one. I just, like I said, I think it's more exciting, and it's more in your face. Like, this one is cool, and like I said, I achieved what I wanted by getting him in the sky and all that, but I just think this one is stronger and a little more exciting. Yeah.
Do you ever ask the skaters to do the trick again to get like?
Yeah, I do, often. This is one of my friends, I ask him all the time. They hate it. I can tell you firsthand that they are not a fan of that. Unless it's like something that's not very demanding or not scary. But like something like this, I don't think I could ever have the courage to ask him to do it again, you know? But, you know, it's all about a comfort level thing. Like, this is one of my best friends, and like, I know what he's capable of. Like, hey, like, you do it again. Like, trust me. Like, I have a vision. Like, I didn't get what I wanted, but we can. And it's a collaborative thing, and sometimes, like, you know, I feel more comfortable with him than I would with somebody else that I don't know. So it just depends. But yes, I'm very guilty of asking people to do tricks again. It's the number one thing that people hate, but I do it often. This is just a photo I shot of my friend Brayden. This is him doing this trick on a rail. And this photo I shot after I shot my fisheye photo. And I was just shooting it just because he was still trying it. And I was like, oh, whatever. Like, I'm here. Like, I don't want to just sit down and do nothing. And so this one just, it shows the whole scene, you know, it's like you see the skater, you see the filmer, you see the people just chilling, waiting for him to land so they can go to the next spot. And, you know, it kind of just tells a story of whatever, what's happening. And then if we go to the next one, you can see that this is the fisheye photo. This is like the exciting, like standard skate photo. It's like fisheye, skaters, kind of he's at the peak of action. I decided that I didn't want him any further down because the further down he got, he was going to get in front of this crossbar, and he was going to not be in the. It was just in the moment. You have to make split decisions a lot, and I was just like, this is where I want him to be in this photo. But you can see the difference between this photo and the last photo. Like, this one is exciting, fisheye, whatever. It's just him, and then this one, it kind of tells a story. It's not as exciting. His arms look a little funny. I mean, personally, I just noticed that right. It's just like he's trying to open something. I don't know what he's doing, but. But the next one, you know, like that, it's just more exciting to me. It's like cool and in your face and just standard skate photo stuff. But yeah, sometimes you're able to shoot both, and this time I was, and I know, obviously I was more pleased with this one.
Do you ever crop your fisheye images, or is this like the full shot?
Well, I have the Canon 8-15, so I'm able to zoom, like it's a funny thing. Like, so I'm able to zoom all the way out, and then it's like I can shoot just a full bubble. But for this one specifically, and for most of my skate photos, I guess, I shoot a little closer to the 15 focal length because I don't like the vignetting that's on there, you know? And so it's like an extra thing to have to clone out the vignetting. But sometimes you have to zoom out to compose the photo the way that you want to. And I can't say specifically what I did for this one or the other ones. It's very situational. Sometimes you have to zoom out and let that vignetting come in, and then you can clone it out in Photoshop or whatever. Like I said, it's just very situational. After you do it so often, you'll figure out like what works for you and when you want to employ that type of technique, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe in the other photos I'll be able to point it out in some of them, but this one specifically I couldn't recall what I did. But good question, yes.
I can't really tell. Is that your reflection in there? And if it is that intentional?
Super non-intentional. I guess this is probably my reflection right here in the corner. But yeah, I mean, I can not be in a skate photo that is the most ideal thing. I just want it to be the main focus of the skater, you know?
I thought it was good.
Yeah.
Speaking of focus, do you prefer to manually focus, or?
Yeah, for the most part, I can't recall the last time I used autofocus. Especially with the fisheye, I don't think it even works for autofocus, but I manually focus on this. And the thing that I do for focus, like, okay, I know that he's gonna do this trick, and so I would, when I'm looking through the viewfinder, the Canon that I have, Canon R6, I'm able to zoom in on the frame, and I'll focus literally right here on this part of the rail. And I'm usually shooting at like 5.6 to 5.8. I never really go too much above that.
Okay.
So, you know, I focus right there, and then I wait for the skater to get right there, and that's when I shoot the photo. And usually he's in sharp focus because of that, or the skater's in sharp focus through that technique.
Right, okay. Sweet, thank you.
The next one.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
You were just talking about aperture. What's the lowest you ever do?
Low.
Longer
I mean,
photo and close up.
yeah. I'm sorry. What was the last one?
For like a wider photo where you're shooting on bigger glass and then also close up on
It's very situational. So oftentimes I'll drop the aperture as low as I can to try and you know, if I'm just really trying to isolate the skater in the photo and then have them specifically be the only thing in focus. But like I said, I'm usually shooting like f4, f5.6, or f8. I don't go too high above that unless it's like, you know, there's like a huge scene that I'm trying to really show. But like for this one, I can guarantee it was like 5.6 for sure. And same thing, I knew what the trick the skater was doing, so I zoomed in on the lens, knew that he was going to be popping out right there, and so I set my focus for that spot right there and waited for him to come and, you know, peak of action. I could have shot it when all four wheels were still grinding, but I didn't think that was as exciting. And so him coming off, it's like, you know, very exciting. I keep saying exciting, but it's exciting. It's more expressive of what's going on, and it's more true to what the trick is. And, you know, I think it's just cooler. And then this situation in general, you know, I went fisheye, and that, you know, if you walked up to the spot, you would be like, oh, like, I don't think most people's brains would go to fisheye, maybe, but it's such a big obstacle. I wanted to be able to show the whole thing, and if I shot at long lens, I would have had to be further down at the very end of it, shooting over here, and it didn't. When I looked at it through, you know, my long lens over there, I was just like, this isn't it. And, you know, when I was like, fuck, I'm gonna go fisheye. And there was a filmer rolling this way, and the filmer ran into me a few times because I was laying on the ground shooting fisheye up into the sky. And I was just like, this has to be done. This is the way to shoot it. And I'm really pleased with this photo. You know, it's like he's in the sky. You can see the whole structure that he's skating, and yeah, I think it just works better as a fisheye photo than the long lens. I put this in here to talk about just like the immediacy and like just, you know, keeping your eyes open to the situation. Because I was shooting this photo, so my friend back there, he's doing that trick. He's rolling and then putting his hand down, back tail slide, and then going down the wall. And initially I was shooting the photo from over here. And I was just like on the sidewalk shooting at him. I shot one fisheye and I was like, oh, like, you know, it's cool. I got the skate photo, you know. And so I was shot fisheye first. I was like, oh, I need to shoot long lens. So I shot long lens. I was standing over here on the sidewalk facing him, like shooting down this way. And I was shooting it, and then I noticed this man, he fucking was just rambling down the street, just being all crazy, and I was like, oh, he's gonna get in our way right now, he's gonna be super gnarly to us or whatever. And he ends up just sitting down on this bench, and I saw him sit down on this bench, and I was like, holy shit, I yelled at my friend, I was like, hey, so you need to get back up on that wall right now. And so I was like, go now. And like, he was just like, what? And I was like, just go. And I'm like, so I walk into the middle of the street and I'm standing there and I'm sitting on the ground. I'm just like, you need to do it right now. And this guy's just yelling, rambling, saying whatever, crazy shit. And I'm just like, go now. And I'm yelling at my friend, like, do it now, like, do it now. And he ends up doing it, and I get this photo, I'm just like, perfect, this is exactly what I wanted. And as soon as I shot this photo, this man got up and just kept on walking. And so I was like, in that moment, like, I was able to recognize, like, oh shit, like, this is something. Like, this is, like, gives the photo a little more depth, makes it a little more interesting. Like, it adds something to the foreground, and I think, you know, fortunately, it all worked out. I was able to get what I wanted. And it just added to it, because I was shooting like the standard skate photo, fisheye, and all the other stuff. Like, it just was like whatevs to me. And then after seeing this, I was like, this is perfect. Like, this actually makes the photo way more interesting in my opinion. And so you kind of just have to have your eyes open and like really be surveying the whole environment, because you never know if there's going to be something like this that can just add to the photo in like a weird way. This is a photo I shot. Obviously on some water, some pier, and I like this photo for a few reasons. You know, it's not like, it wasn't easy to get up here. This is some restaurant that was closed, so I had to climb. It was kind of fucking crazy. They had a ladder up to the second story because the restaurant was closed. So I had to climb this ladder and then go up there, stack a bunch of chairs that they had like tied up because it was like a restaurant that opens at night, so it had those weird like fucking bike lock type things all over these chairs, and I was like, fuck, I stacked them up. I was able to stand as high as I could looking down at the scene, and it was just a different angle, because I was initially shooting the rail from over here, just like, you know, getting the water on the bottom third of the photo, and then skater in the middle third, and then just kind of whatever nonsense was on the top third. I was like, this is kind of boring. And I looked around and I saw that I was able to shoot it up there if I got up there somehow, so I did. And then I really like this photo as well because, you know, you see him, he's in the water, which is cool. Like, you know, the water's behind him, which is cool. You understand that it's a risky spot to skate for that reason. And then the other thing that I like is, like, you can see that these are my friend's clothes, because these two guys also skated the rail and they fell in the water earlier. So they're there in their boxers, like, waiting to help him in case his board falls in, or if he falls in, to, you know, do whatever they can to help the situation. And so these are their clothes hanging to dry. And so I really like that. It just, like, you know, all this stuff just kind of makes the photo cool, in my opinion. You know, it just like tells a story. And I think that's really cool. This one, natural light. I shot a sequence of this at the time because I was just like, I don't fucking know what's happening. I knew he wanted to do a backside flip over. I just didn't know how it was gonna look. So I just played it safe, shot a sequence. I didn't know how the catch was gonna look. And the one he did was great. The other ones leading up to it were not good at all. It was just like weird flicks, weird catches. It just didn't look like the trick was supposed to, in my opinion. And I just stood right there, waited, and I really like this photo. You know, he's in the sky, he's over the obstacle, you know, he's coming out from here, going over the fence and landing back here. And, you know, I think it's sick. He's in the sky, he's going over the obstacle. You can see that his back foot is on the board, his front foot is catching, it's about to touch the board, which is sick. And then another thing that I really like is his shadow that's right here in the corner. And it's just like, I don't know, it just works as pretty cool. I don't know, it's basic photo, no flashes. So this bank, or the big bank, but he's coming off of that wall up there into the bank. He's just doing a kickflip. And yeah, I had 2 flashes, or maybe 3. I remember I had to climb up on that wall to put a flash. So it's a really narrow wall, probably about this big, and that he was rolling on to pop into the bank. And so I put one flash like on the wall, and so the wall's like this big, so I had a little tripod, and one flash was facing him, and then I had another flash on the edge of the bank facing him, and then I had one a little further back, close to the fence, facing like his backside. And yeah, it's just got him in the sky, pretty symmetrical. You know, that line of the wall goes right into the corner of the frame, which I was really hyped on. This is cool. You get to see that he's like, he goes down right here, right here. It all makes sense. It's like, it's very straightforward skate photo. And then, you know, the timing, it's like him catching the kickflip. And just really hyped on it. All the graffiti really adds to it. You get to see that, you know, we're in a place that people don't often go, or if they do, they're doing delinquent type shit. So it works. It's a cool photo. This is right here at T Street as well, in Riverside. I was watching him do this trick, and I shot one probably like 30 minutes prior, and then he was still trying it, and I realized, wow, this sunset's amazing. Like, I gotta shoot this, and so I set my flashes up, and you know, I have one back here maybe, I have one over here for sure, and then I think I had one right here, like kind of facing him. And yeah, I mean, it's just, I really like all those lines up there, from the power lines, the palm trees, the wooden pole from the power line, and it all just, it makes that top part of the frame like pleasing to look at, you know? All those weird shapes created by the power lines are kind of cool. Obviously the fucking color of the sunset is great, and then you get down here and you're like, oh, like you get to understand what he's doing. It's a skater, and he's doing a backsmith over this hole. This is a picture of someone skating in the backyard pool. It's fucking Tony Hawk. But he's doing a trick. He looks scared as hell, and it's cool. You know, I have maybe one flash right here facing him, and then I had another flash in the back of the pool facing him. And this is just standard fisheye skate photography. You know, he was doing a sweeper, and he touched his board on this, so his board is touching that, and that's kind of sick. Like, you get to see that. You see his board graphic, classic fucking Tony Hawk, Birdman shit, his face, everything, it's all there. Like, just, like I said, very straightforward skate photography. It's just definitely the hardest thing about this photo is getting Tony Hawk to skate a backyard pool. But everything else is very straightforward, easy to achieve. Obviously, she's not skating. She's roller skating, but the same principles apply to this. And obviously, this is a little weird. She's fucking looking at you, beaming, weird, not traditional skate photo. And then you see this. Obviously, it's this photo was specifically taken for this drink. And so we put it there, and it's cool and whatever. And she's smiling, it's happy, whatever. But it's the same thing. It's the same principles apply to roller skate photography as skate photography. You know, I set up my flashes. I knew what she was going to do. We communicated about the trick, and I was like, oh, like, it'd be cool if you were looking at me, you know, and like smiling. And, you know, in the moment, I was like, yeah, great, we achieved it. But, you know, looking at it now, it's like, it's a little weird that she's like staring and so happy. But whatever. It's like supposed to be like a happy and positive image, you know. It's supposed to portray this drink that's supposed to be healthy, you know, so it works in that sense. But yeah, like these principles apply to a lot of different types of action sport photography, I guess. So yeah, and then the next slide is another similar thing. It's like, this is my friend that rides BMX, and same thing. It's like, you know, all the same principles apply. Setting up your flashes, shooting not the skater, the BMX rider at the peak of the action. You can see everything that's going on. You get the idea that he's riding over this hole, like he's doing an air over this broken part of the ramp. You see his face, which is apparently not super important in BMX photography. Every time I shoot photos of him, I'm always like, hey, can you do another one? I can't see your face. Hey, like, and he's just like, dude, like, it doesn't matter. And I'm like, well, this is just the way that I shoot photos. Like, I want to see your face. Like, for me, that's a big part of it. And like I said, in BMX and the rules of BMX photography, it's apparently not a requirement. Like, you can shoot from behind or whatever, as long as you get the idea of what the trick is. But I'm not too familiar with the tricks in BMXing, so I'm just like default to standard skate photography rules and show peak of action, show the BMX rider's face and whatever. But like I said, most of all the same principles apply, you know. And yeah, this is actually here in Riverside as well. I don't know what this is looking like now, but this was a couple of years ago and it was destroyed, so I imagine it's even worse condition now. This is another BMX, obviously skate photo as well. This is my friend, he's doing an air over my other friend that's doing like a trick here on the lip of the bowl. And I suggested it because I was like, this is the BMX guy, he does this event called Swamp Fest. And I was like, oh, I need to get a photo of him, you know, while I'm here. And so I think this guy's a super talented skater, and I was like, oh, like you can do this trick, and then my friend Trey, the BMX guy, can air over you. And it worked. They only did it like twice, and I was so nervous. I was like, fuck, I can't blow this. Like, I don't have very many chances to shoot this photo, but it worked out, and you know, I'm pleased with it.
That's so sick.
Yeah, he's doing the trick, and he's doing the trick, and it just worked. They're both, you know, separate from each other, and you get the idea of what's going on. Yeah. Any questions?
Would you like him more over him? Or?
I would super like him more over him, but you know, their timing wasn't perfect to make that happen, and Trey, you know, these are the days leading up to the event, so this man on the bike, he's running around this entire place like a fucking madman, like trying to get all these things in order. So the fact that we got him to not do that for 5 minutes, I was very thankful, but I only had 5 minutes. So I couldn't be like, hey, can you do another one? Because he the BMX man, hates when I ask him that. So he was just like, no, like I gotta go do X, Y, and Z. And I was like, all right, whatever. So this is the photo I got, but it works. It's like you have a good idea of what's going on, but like I said, I think to get him directly over him, their timing would have had been better, and that wasn't going to happen in the small window of time that I had to shoot this photo. So this is a photo that I shot this year at the same event. But you know, earlier I said that usually you want, say someone's skating a rail, you want to shoot them at the top of the rail, like the peak of the action, like the most exciting part. They're just getting in. But this one, I had the opportunity to shoot it. I shot a similar photo the year before, and I shot it when the skater was up there. And when the skater was up there, I was just like, I kind of got lost in all of the chaos back there, and I didn't like that. And so I knew that, I was waiting for somebody to make it all the way down. It was taking a long time. Nobody could do it. And then finally this guy was coming down, and he got to like right here, and I was like, holy shit, it's about to happen. He's about to do it. And I was like, fuck, because I knew that I didn't like the photo when he was all the way at the top. So I knew I wanted to get him down here, but as soon as he was making it, I knew that it was only a one-try situation. And so I had my focus set for over here. I was waiting for just anybody to make it down, and he finally made it, and I fortunately got the photo, and he's all the way at the end of the rail, about to pop off onto this wood. But yeah, like I said, it kind of breaks the rules in the sense that he's not at the most exciting part of the rail, he's kind of at the end, which you can argue is maybe just as exciting, given that it's such a long rail and he made it to the end. And you can see the whole rail still, and you can see the crowd in the background, and they're like not the main focus of it, which I think really helps the photo. And yeah, you see there's a fucking Twisted Tea right here, so that's pretty sick as well. Another just fisheye photo. This one was a little crazy to shoot because the tries leading up to him doing it, he was just like fucking throwing his board like directly at me. He was like bailing, and his board would fly straight at me. And so it was really, really scary. I was like, this is gonna get gnarly. But I knew that, and I was like, this is the way that needs to be shot, so I can see his face, I can see him in the sky, I can see the whole obstacle. And so I just knew in my heart of hearts that this is where I needed to stand to shoot the photo. And so I did, and I was in the danger zone. I almost got hit a couple times, but it all worked out. So I had one flash set up over here facing up at him, and then I had another flash like down here on my left side facing up at him. And I think I only used 2 for this photo, but it was enough to light him in the spot well enough. And yeah, you get the idea of what's going on. It's just this crazy wooden structure, and you see the skater. He's coming up here, coming off the end right there, and then landing over here and rolling out. This one is my friend ollying off this truck. Same event, Swamp Fest, but he's ollying off this, and then there's, like you can see right here, there's wood that he rides down. But obviously, they set it on fire every year, whatever they build. And so they're starting to set it on fire, and he was like, hey, like I want it ollie off the truck right now. And I was like, okay, that's gnarly. And so, all these people in the foreground are documenting it as well. But there's not very much time to shoot this photo. There's a lot of immediacy, in the fact that it's being lit on fire. It's only going to be there for so long, and he was only going to do this once because it's like fucking gnarly and it's scary, and you have to climb this whole thing to get up there, and then you got to go down, and it's just like a whole thing. But the point of me putting this photo in here and talking about it is like you just have to be ready, because you never know like if something like this is going to happen. This is like something like this might happen again, but it won't be the same. And it's so, in my opinion, it's just like this is like a once in a lifetime like photo. So I just had to be ready. I knew that he was going to do this, and I got him in the sky. You can see the fire. All these people in the foreground kind of hook the photo up, and the fact that it just gives you something to look at. It's just like, wow, like all these people were here, and like fucking, it's just crazy scene. Another photo, same event. And I saw a picture of this, them while they were building this. I saw this picture on Instagram of just the spot, just the rail. And I saw that it went over the water. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, I fucking hope that one of my friends skates this rail and I'm able to shoot a photo. Because as soon as I saw the spot, I knew exactly how I wanted to shoot it. I knew that I needed to be in the water to shoot this photo, and it would show the curve of the rail the best, is like being straight on from it. And so I tried to walk in the water and just stand, but the water, like after this point right here, after like 1 foot, it drops off like 10 feet. So I got in there and I was like, this is not gonna work, I'm gonna fucking drown. And so I had to get in a boat, and I had one of my friends, I was like getting in this boat, and I was like, hey, like come here, like I need your help. So I was standing in this boat, leaning over the water, holding my camera, and I wanted to be low, and so I'm pretty close to the water. Like my camera's like probably this much above the water, and I have my friend in the boat like with an oar, a big stick, all the way down the ground so we can stay still, so I can be in the same spot. And throughout him trying this trick, he fell in the water like multiple times. And so I'm just standing there over the boat, hanging out of the boat, and he's falling in the water. And so he falls in the water, splashes me, splashes my camera. I was like, fuck. And the boat starts rocking, I almost fall in. I'm like, whatever, this is gnarly. Next try, same thing happens. He falls in the water, splashes me, splashes my camera. I'm just like, this is fine. I don't know if this is gonna work out. And so I just stick it out because I'm just like, I know that this photo, what it could be. And so I'm waiting. He finally gets one that he doesn't fall in. I'm just like, all right, we gotta get out of here. Like I don't want to get splashed anymore. But this is a photo that I have in my mind, and I'm really hyped on it. It's cool. You get to see here, he taped a bunch of water bottles to the bottom of his board, so when it fell in the water, it wouldn't just sink. You get to see his shadow a little bit, which I was hyped on. You get to see the shadow of the rail, and just that curve in the water really works, in my opinion, and the same thing with this curve of the rail. You get to see that it's literally just a U, and that's pretty sick. And then all the nonsense in the background, you're just like, what is going on? But I had a vision, and I was able to make it happen, so I was really happy on this photo. Next one. This is a friend. He's going off this boat onto this dock, and he did this twice. The first one he tried, we didn't have this piece of wood here, and his board went into this wood, and his board just like literally broke through it, and he fucking just ate shit. And so we put this wood here after that attempt because we were like, oh, you need to do this. This is too cool. And I took a step back when I was first shooting it, and I was like, I could shoot it long, and it'll probably be really crazy. And I was like, oh shit, like actually if I shoot this fisheye, it'll be even crazier. I can get him in the sky, I can shoot, compose it in a way that shows the entire boat, and you get to see that he's landing on something, and it all makes sense, it just works. But I like that the boat was like a really big part of the frame, that he's in the sky, and I think it's just a really cool fisheye photo, not one that's very, it's not an opportunity that comes up very often in skateboarding, like falling off of a boat. This boat is like hundreds of years old or something, they're telling us, I don't really remember. But yeah, it's just really sick. Any questions? Yep, sorry.
How many flashes did you use?
On that last one?
Yeah.
This one, I had one over here on this side of the wall facing him, and then I think I had one behind me, like set up pretty high because I wanted the one behind me to just get him. And so there's that one, so there's two. And then I didn't, usually when I have a flash and it's because there was nowhere on the moment, I had to make a lot of quick decisions, but there was nowhere for me to put this third flash that was gonna work and light him up. I wanted to light him up from this side. So I put this one right here, and I think that the photo that didn't get printed, I edited this out because I was like, that looks dumb, like that's fucking shouldn't be there. But yeah, I think I just had 3 flashes for this one. Pretty standard. I usually roll around with at least 4, but yeah, this one I used the 3. And then the next slide. And then this photo is actually was on the cover of fucking Thrasher. I shot it, and in the moment of shooting it, I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, this is my friend, like doing skating barefoot. I've seen him do it before. It's whatever. And I think that I only had 1 flash set up for this one. I just had a big one that was kind of behind me shooting at him. And I only used 1 because it was really bright outside, and I was like, I don't need a bunch of lights for this. And then I used 1 specifically because, you know, he's backlit from the sun. So if I didn't use a flash at all, he would have been very dark. And so I set up the 1 and just had it at full power. And I was just waiting for him. He was doing them pretty low at first, like just testing them out. And I was like, hey, like, please just do a really big one. Like, it'll be so fucking cool. Like, if you just blast one. And he did. And then this is the photo that we got, and ended up being on the cover of Thrasher. And very fortunate, but I didn't, like I said, you know, I didn't think anything of the photo at the time. I was just like, oh, it's another photo of my friend doing a trick that he always does. He just happens to be barefoot. But the powers that be decided that it was, you know, a photo that needed to be seen. Yeah, and then I think that might be it. Next one. Yeah, that's it. And so, if you want to hit the lights, I just thank you guys for your time. I don't know if you guys are interested, but I have my camera here and all the stuff that I use. I could show you my camera bag. It's kind of like pretty straightforward stuff, but just so you have an idea of like the tools that I use at least to go shoot a photo. So my camera is actually set up back there right now. It's an R6 and it's filming all this. But so I use that, and I have that 24-70. I have this 8-15 fisheye, and this is honestly the most, like, in my opinion, the best fisheye that you can use for skateboard photography, just because it has the ability to change the focal length. And like I said earlier, like you can zoom out and you get that full circle view, which is very unique and very cool, and sometimes just a extra little thing to play with. And so this is very awesome. I really use this lens a lot. And then I have 2 of these. These are Godox flashes, the 8400s. On this one, the LCD is broken because it fell off of vert ramp, and the LCD broke, but I still get to use it, fortunately. I just have to use my remote. I can't do anything with this. So I have the batteries for these. I have 2 of those. I have this other case that I walk around with too. This is another flash, the 8200, and then this is the 8300 that I also use. And those 2 big flashes are kind of like what I use to just light the scene. And then once the scene is lit, maybe that's enough, but then I'll use these ones to light the skater or add rim light to the skater, just try to highlight the scene or just make the lighting a little more dynamic. So these are very useful, you know, just have small extra flashes to use.
How do you typically mount them? Or like you kind of just like put them like...
No, I mean I have, so you see that tripod that camera is on? I literally use that exact same flap stand for the 400s. So I have 3 of those that I roll around with, and those are really cool. I get them on Amazon. They're cheap. They've been through hell. Like if you look at that one closely, you can see that the bottom is all messed up and fucking... It's been hit, and so it's been messed up. All of those flashes that I have, the flash stands, get messed up. So I don't want to buy anything too nice because I'm just like, oh, it's going to get hit by a board, it's going to break.
Yeah.
So I have 3 of those, and then I also have a very small one that's like maybe like this tall that I use to usually set up a flash behind the skater to light them from behind. And that's also so useful. I didn't have that one for a long time. I would usually just set the small flashes that I showed you on the ground. Like I would use like my wallet to put under it so it's kind of tilting up, or whatever I could use. Like I'd take off my shoe to put under it, or whatever worked in that moment, you know? And so, but yeah, I have those just traditional light stands, and then I have a small one. And they're all very useful. And then other than flashes and the lenses, just have, you know, it's so useful for the fisheye. I have the remotes. I don't know what this. This goes on top of the camera. It talks to the flashes. There's newer ones than this, but this one works. It does the job. I've broken so many of these by just dropping them or having it in my camera bag, and somebody sits on my Pelican case, and then I open it up and the LCD is broken. I'm just like, oh, fuck, awesome, cool. So all the stuff that I have, like, it's great. It's the good stuff, but I don't ever like want to get like the top of the line shit. Like, this is all good stuff, but I don't want to get anything that's too expensive or too crazy, because I know at some point it's gonna fucking break.
Yeah.
Like, someone's gonna hit it. I'm gonna drop it. Like, all my stuff, all my items, all the tools that I use, they go through hell. And so when I buy them, I just know in the back of my head, it's like, this is temporary. Like, it's gonna work for a while. I'm gonna use it, and then eventually I'm gonna have to replace it. Like, there's no doubt in my mind, all this stuff is gonna get replaced at some point because of just wear and tear.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, other than that, I just have a bunch of batteries in here, cloths to clean stuff. I usually have stickers because you never know when you just stick something down. Sometimes, honestly, sometimes the stuff that's not in this bag is way more useful, like my belt or just random shit that I have in my trunk. Like, I use my belt oftentimes to, like, say there's nowhere to really put another flash, and so I have that small tripod. I'll put it on there and just keep it straight instead of extending the legs, you know? And then I'll just, you know, say there's a chain link fence, get it next to the chain link fence, use my belt to tie it around, and then just, you know, it's all very situational. You never know, you know, you're gonna get into a weird lighting situation that you're like, I need another source of light from over here, but there's nowhere to put a flash. It's like, you just have to think outside the box. Like, as a photographer, if you're a photographer, you probably already know this by now, but you're a problem solver. Like, every situation you find yourself in, you need to solve a problem one way or another. So you need to be very aware of, like, timing. It's like, okay, there's a lot of immediacy in this moment. Like, this skater's gonna do this trick, he's about to do it right now, but I need to change the lighting. It's like, you need to act quickly, you need to do it, like, you know, in a way that's not gonna disturb the skater or disturb the environment. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you're just like, what? There's no other option. Like, I'm sorry, I have to get in your way right now. I have to move all this shit, whatever. And it's like, if they're understanding, then great. If they're not, then fuck, you just gotta deal with it. But yeah, and then the other thing that I was gonna try to make happen for us right now, if you guys are want to, we can go out and try to shoot some photos together. And there's a few options to make that happen. There's the first option, which is James over right here. He runs the skate shop, gets a flat bar, and we just shoot it on the flat bar, which is very, whatever, not the most exciting thing, but it's right here, it's immediate, we all can do it, and I can be like, oh, like, this is what I would do, blah, blah. And so that's pretty easy. Second option is going down to the ditch right here. I don't know how mobile all of you are, but the ditch isn't too far. It's at the end of Ryan Bonamino Park.
Nazi Street.
Yeah, and so it's like, that's a good environment. There's a lot of stuff. You know, James will fucking skate. I'll make him skate. He'll do tricks for everybody. I can walk around and be like, oh, like, this is what I would do differently, blah, blah. And then the third option is kind of not the most traditional one, but it's nobody in here works for the city of Riverside or specifically the post office, right? Okay. Well, the third option is that James has been telling me he wants to do this thing over here at the post office. He wants to ride off one of the trucks. So the third option is we go over there and you watch me shoot this photo of James that I've been meaning to shoot for a while. So I don't know what you guys want to do. The third one is the less, like, engaging. It's just you guys kind of watching me fucking do this, which isn't, I don't know how exciting that is for everybody. But like I said, the other two options are a little more hands-on. I'll be able to, like, be like, oh, you guys should do this, or try this angle, or we can set up my flashes and we can be like, oh, I'll do this stuff. So it's up to you guys. I don't know how many of you guys even want to participate in this, but yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Group discussion here. Anybody? Any input?
Go to the park and then we'll come back and watch you do the
Yeah, I mean, can everybody? I think if we go to the park, it'll be the most, like, hands-on thing that we can all do together. And, like, there's a lot of obstacles. There's a lot of different things to shoot. The lighting's really good right now. The sun's still out. You know. Can you guys make it over there? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Everybody? Okay. Well, there's this park right down the street, and we can go there. There's a fucking big ditch, whatever. Like, And like I said, we can get hands-on, and I can be like, oh, like, do this instead, whatever. You guys down for that?
Yeah.
All right, let's do that.